much for joining me today. This is kind of the first time Steele's done something like this, but you're in a unique situation where you're one of our athletes that's very prominent in the bodybuilding side of things, but you also do something very unique that I think a lot of our demographic doesn't really know much about, and might be looking to get more into as it grows. So a little background on you, just to start. Tell me a little bit about yourself and what you do in the realm of obstacle course racing, which is a lot of what we're going to be focusing on today.
Yeah, so back in about 2013, I remember looking in the mirror and I was beside myself. I was pushing 200 pounds, completely unhealthy, didn't really know where to start. So I stepped into the gym for the very first time. And really just kind of, the very first thing you do if you really don't know what you're doing is you get on cardio. So I became a cardio bunny for a good year or so, and then I decided to try out the weights. So I walked into the weight room, was very intimidated, obviously. So about a year into my journey, probably about a year and a half, I get a call from a girlfriend of mine, and she's like, hey, we're doing a battle frog this weekend. My girlfriend was supposed to do it. She's having surgery. Do you want a registration? And at this point, I just lost 60 pounds. And I was like, sure. I've never done anything like that before. So I show up, and it was a 15K. At that point, I hadn't been doing cardio. It was just really more of like focusing on the weight training. After losing all of that weight, having loose skin, so then I decided to give it a shot. And then as soon as I got done, the very first thing I did when I got home was look for more. The athletes you meet, the way that you can like test your own body, and it's a completely different style of training versus just primarily being a weightlifter, which is where I pretty much started for about 2 years before I got into obstacle course racing.
That's incredible. I know the challenge is something pretty unique. Unless you're in the military or doing, special ops, tactical training with the police. Not a lot of people are going to be running 15K and doing obstacles or even imagining themselves doing it.
Mm-hmm.
So once you got into that, what was it about it that hooked you? Was it just the challenge physically and mentally? Which side of it kind of took over?
Both really. Your mental mindset is 100% what's going to drive you through an obstacle course race. You can be stuck on an obstacle for 45 minutes, an hour and 20 to get that obstacle done. But that feeling after being there for so long and hitting that bell or getting to that obstacle is a feeling that you can't explain. Just to know like how far you can physically like push your body and what you can do if you just get out of your own head is such a rewarding feeling. I've been stuck at an obstacle for over an hour and a half before, and then, just sitting down. It was probably my very first time I ran pro. I ran pro for a Savage race, and I got to what they call the sawtooth, which is a monkey bar that goes up, and then it comes back down, and then back up, and then back down. So incline, and then basically an M. And it's 40 degrees out. It's cold. The very first time I tried, I dropped into the water, so therefore now I'm cold and wet. So I try and I try and I try and I try. My hands are bleeding. My hands are ripped open. And all I wanted to do was come across the finish line with my band. So I sat out for like 5 minutes, and I just start talking to myself. And I'm like, you've trained hard for this. Like, you can do it. Get out of your head. Like, it's now or never. Your hands can't hold up anymore. I'm starting to, like, almost go into, like, hypothermia because I'm freezing. And I got back up on there, and I did it like I never tried before. It was just right through it. And to just know that I was able to talk myself into, like, you can do this is an amazing feeling. Because on that field, it's you against you. It's you against nobody else but coming across that finish line. And to know that, and to know that you're not competing against anybody else, it's what hooked me.
When you're sitting there on the side and you're out for that 5 minutes, are you getting passed up? Are people checking on you? What's the environment for another athlete that's struggling as you're going, or is it a single focus of you're going to finish the race?
It really depends. So you can run an open heat, which is more of a team building. So you're there, everyone's cheering each other on. Even in the pro side of things, which you're running for your prizes, your awards, and money, you still have those other athletes that are going by you that are telling you, you got this, like you can do this. And you do get to know a lot of the people that are in the community travel to all the races together. I mean, I remember one time, like I said, I was at an obstacle for an hour and a half, and I had one of the pros, she had already finished, and she's sitting on the sideline. And she's just, she's, even though I'm technically competing against her, she's making me get out of my own head, telling me I got it, and you kind of almost coaching me through it. And technique is a huge thing in obstacle course racing. And if you've never been through an obstacle before, you really don't know what to expect until you do it. So we definitely are all there to push each other and be the best, because yes, we're competing against each other, but at the end of the day, like, we're a huge family. So for a lot of, for instance, Savage Race is one of the big ones that I do race. We have pro bands, so it's like these bands right here. And if you cannot complete an obstacle, you give your band up. It's called the fail pale. So you have to take your band off and give it up.
That's interesting that they do that, because it's a whole another mental battle.
Oh yeah.
You have to physically take that band off
and it
quit more ways than one.
It's like someone's ripping your heart out of your chest. I mean, thankfully, I've, before I really got into the pro side of things, I was very much into working out. So I went in a very high class starting out. So now that I'm 30-something races in and I haven't had to give my band up, I've been 100% completion, that really gets to my head. Because when I'm stuck, I'm like, I've done so many races and I've gotten to this point. I cannot give it up now.
The only way that band's coming off is if your hand.
Right, is if they're dragging me off the course. So that definitely plays a huge mental game too, because I don't want to ever say that I gave up. I want to say that I physically left everything I had on that course.
So when you're getting prepped, say you've got a race 6 months out, are you already training? Are you building your training program? What's your timeline for, fighters have fight camps, bodybuilders have their prep weeks and their diet weeks. What's your prep time like? Is it a year-round training? I know you do races year-round, but what's your timeline like?
So I do have a coach. So my coach does do my programming. So it really depends. For instance, I have the North American World Championship, or the North American Championships coming up in August, and I start my prep for that on Monday.
Okay.
Because that one's actually going to be up a mountain, and in Florida, obviously, it's very flat. So I'm going to do this one a lot longer, just to really focus on that incline, going up that mountain. But for most of the time, it's a year-round training. Getting your miles in, working on speed, working on agility, working on just being explosive, getting over those obstacles. So you have to find a really good balance between cardio and strength training.
So how much water are you drinking? A gallon a day? Do you have a goal every day that I'm going to drink X amount of water?
Yeah, I mean, hydration is the most important thing when it comes to cardio. If you're not hydrated, your body's not feeling right, you're not fueling it, it's not going to be a pretty sight. And you can tell a huge difference. If I come up to a race and I'm racing, I can tell how my hydration has been leading up to that race. So I drink anywhere from a gallon to a gallon and a half a day. And I do make sure I always have my gallon with me, because if I don't have it, I'm not going to drink it. So I also like to take our pump formula, because it does have that hydration matrix in it, and that really does help me to, helps open up your veins and get some blood flowing. So that is one of my favorite things to take before I do run, because I feel like it does really help me with hydration, and it really helps get my blood flowing as well.
So I wanted to kind of finish with a little bit more of a dive into your mentality. So we kind of talked a little bit at the beginning about 200-pound you. You have to look at yourself every single day, and a lot of people know what it's like to look in a mirror and not like what they see looking back at them. So how does that play with your intensity, your focus? People of your caliber all have that gear.
So one thing I always tell myself is, don't forget where you come from, like where I came from. There was a very, part of my life where I wasn't healthy. I couldn't run a quarter of a mile without dying. And I never want to feel that way again. The feeling of not being able to be strong. One of the biggest reasons why I fell in love with obstacle course racing is it's such a male-dominant sport. So for the a female to come out there and dominate the course is very unheard of. You know, a lot of them struggle with the obstacles. So to be able to be, you know, that few percent that can actually do it is what drives me to train hard every day. Because I don't want to feel defeated. You know, when I looked in that mirror that day, I remember it plain as daylight. I got up, I was getting ready to go to the swimming pool. I put a bathing suit on. I walked past a mirror. I caught myself and I just started bawling my eyes out. And I was like, why did I do this? Why did I let myself get to this point? You know, I totally lost control. I didn't have any control when it came to food. I wanted to eat my feelings away. And so fixing that relationship with food and being able to take that energy that I put into food and actually put it into bettering myself is really where things kick-started. I take what I've learned through my experience and I, you know, help somebody else. And when they come back to me and they were like, because of the tips that you gave me, this obstacle that I've tried 10 times and could never get through, I succeeded. And I no longer feel like dominated. I mean, for instance, on Saturday, I had a girl. She had been at this obstacle. I see her every race, and she's always stuck at the same exact obstacle. That day, after I finished, you know, I kind of gave her pointers. And then at the end of the finish line, like she came across that finish line, she was almost in tears. She's like, I didn't keep my band today, but I got through it. And because of the pointers that you gave me, I'm getting goosebumps, I was able to do it. And just being able to like do something that you've not been able to ever do before really drives me. I was at a full out sprint my last quarter mile with a girl on Saturday. I mean, full out, everything I had come across the finish line collapsed, like full out everything I had. But her and I, as soon as we came across that finish line, we gave each other a hug and was like, thank you. She came up to me on Sunday and she was like, I'm so glad that you were there because had you have not been there, I had nothing left. I would have walked across that finish line. So to be able to be in a full out sprint, which was pretty intense, she was like, I felt like I left everything I had on that course. And we were able to like give each other a hug and like thank each other for like pushing, making ourselves better athletes by having each other as a little driving factor. It's a pretty cool experience. So I wake up at 5 in the morning and that's when I go work out. And there's mornings where I wake up and I go to turn my alarm off. And then I like question myself, like, are you going to regret this? Are you going to regret not going this morning? How are you going to feel if you don't do it? Is what drives me to train hard every day. Because I don't want to feel defeated.